Hello there. What's going on, everybody? Nightsisters. We're talking about Nightsisters today, specifically for two different games, the Star Wars RPG, and could they also work in Star Wars Legion, because a recent article from FFG about Nightsisters in the Star Wars RPG, they're going to be coming out with the Witches of Dathomir and the Collapse of the Republic book that's going to be coming out pretty soon, and it's pretty cool. I encourage you to go to Fantasy Flight Games and check it out. The article is showing some of their skill trees and some of the different weapons that they can have. They can have the bows and they can have the blades, and the dusk blade I think you see here, and as well as their bows. Like, the bows are really cool too. I love the idea of bows in Star Wars. I love it, and it was really cool. And they had some great episodes in the Clone Wars. So this actually got me thinking about a recent video I did talking about some potential units for the Clone Wars, and could Nightsisters work in Legion? And so I think they absolutely could. I think there's a lot of different ways that they could implement them, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So first off, I think Nightsisters would work really well as a Special Forces unit for Separatists. I think that would be a great idea for Special Forces, since you probably don't want only droids. Once the factions get flushed out a little bit, and a lot of you have said, oh, Special Forces, you could have the assassin droids and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, and I agree with that. But at a certain point, you're going to expand these factions beyond just the basic stuff, just the most iconic stuff and the most basic stuff. You're going to spread them out a little bit. And we're seeing that with the Empire and the Rebels right now. We're seeing some more stuff get kind of displayed, and we're seeing more stuff that's a little bit less iconic start to show up, like Death Troopers, for example. Granted, they have quickly become very recognizable, but they weren't always, right? And so it might not have made sense for Death Troopers to be the very first Special Forces unit for the Empire, whereas Scout Troopers were way more common and a better candidate. And of course, that's how it naturally evolved, and that makes sense, because you want a game to be recognizable. You want a game to have that initial appeal for a larger base, and then eventually expand into the smaller niches. Now, in the case of Nightsisters, I think that fits the bill perfectly for maybe like a fourth wave kind of announcement for the Clone Wars stuff, right? So eventually, and I think they would make an excellent Special Forces unit. But also, I think they could potentially make a sub-faction for Separatists. Now, they already talked a little bit in an earlier interview. They were talking about possibilities of sub-factions and something they would like to do. Gungans, for example, would be a great one, but not for Separatists, of course. They would be under Republic, and it's unclear exactly how sub-factions would work, but I think it would likely be something that works with its parent faction, or independently. But I do think they would also be able to work with. I think if you built a Gungan army, you could probably also have Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, fighting in that army. So in the same way with Nightsisters, if you were to develop an entire Nightsister sub-faction, how would you be able to incorporate those with the Separatists? I think that would work fine. I think there's plenty of use cases where Dooku would make use of the Nightsisters. Of course, you look at the creation of Savage Opress, for example. You saw that they were working together. And then you can also have separate cases of the Nightsisters working on their own. Another cool thing about having Nightsisters as a sub-faction, maybe, I don't know if it would be a Nightsisters sub-faction or if it would be a Dathomir sub-faction, and Nightsisters would be a unit, because you've got a lot of different weapon types. You've got the blades, you've got the bows, you've got the Force users, you've got like Mother Talzin would be a perfect commander for Nightsisters. I don't know if she would be a Separatist commander. I don't know if she would be commanding droids, though, so there might be some kind of restriction that she must command a Nightsister-only faction. Or maybe not. Maybe that would overcomplicate things. But I think if you're going to, at some point, you're going to have you're going to have a lot of different options. And you might have core units. Maybe the blades will be core, and maybe the bows will be Special Forces, or vice versa. You might have more Force-sensitive ones. It'd be really cool to have Force upgrades on non-unique units, too, and this would be a great way to do that. I also do expect we'll see something like that at some point for the Republic, perhaps generic Jedi Knights, which would go in as maybe Special Forces, or maybe even a generic operative as a Jedi Knight or something like that, or a Jedi Padawan combo team, almost like a strike teams for what we see in the Empire and in the Rebellion. So there's a lot of little possible combinations here, which are going to be really, really cool. But also Ventress. I think Ventress is worth mentioning because she would absolutely work in this faction as well as working as a Separatist. And I could see her potentially serving multiple roles. I could even see them making multiple versions of Asajj Ventress because she kind of has had a different look. Especially, and I do want to bring up Dark Disciple because that one is also important. It talks a lot about Asajj Ventress, and of course she had the hairdo also, so that either you do maybe two versions, or maybe you just have like two heads in the Nightsister version of Ventress. Well, I think that would be a pretty cool thing to do as well. But just I'd like to have an option of her with the hair, but love Asajj Ventress, especially watching her in complete story arc go through Dark Disciple. But she's just one of the best characters through all of the Clone Wars, I think. Just because of her depth it's got such a rise and fall. It's all over the place, and it really comes full circle. So I love it, and I think she could serve. I think if you have a Separatist specific, like a Dooku's assassin version of her, then she would be operative. But I think she could, for Nightsisters, she could work either way. She could be operative, or she could be, maybe you make a commander version of her, and of course she could probably work in either capacity. But maybe she's more move and more assassin version as the operative, and more force-ish as the commander. Like, I don't need to be sneaking around behind enemy lines now. Now I'm gonna stand right here. Maybe she's got more defense as she's grown more, as she elevates to a commander level position, which is very cool. Problem you might think though is if they did a Dathomir, Witches of Dathomir, or just a Dathomirian faction, are you going to kind of run out of stuff to do? Because you've got, what is this, like maybe 4 different types of units that you can do total? Well, we also have potentially the Zabraks that you can add as well, which I think would be a natural fit for that sub-faction. Now, I will caveat this with, sub-factions don't have to be super dense. They don't have to be super dense because they're just that, a sub-faction. By the time you really flush out a sub-faction, that parent faction has to be very, very deep. So, but I think Zabraks would be a really, really cool option. And of course, we have Maul and Savage Opress that you could add that could work in this in the Dathomir faction as well. And potentially multiple versions for either of them, either commander or operative, I think is very cool. Or if they ever do some kind of duo unit, if it has its own thing, which would be really cool. Like, I would love like some kind of tag team, like a two-person thing, because you have so many duos. You have Maul and Opress, you have R2 and 3PO, you've got Han and Chewie. All right, it'd be cool to get like a Han and Chewie duo unit that would allow you more easily the ability to get like the whole, especially with Rebels too, like Kanan and Ezra. Like there's all kinds of like duos that would really, really work, and I think that could work really well here as well. So yeah, just want to talk a little bit about this. Like I love the idea of like Zabrak as core, and then because they're all kind of like nameless guys until you get to like the few that we actually know. And I think that's really cool. I think they'd be kind of bare bones. They fit the role of core. I think if you want to get into your special forces, I think the Nightsisters have a lot of options there. You can either have Separatist versions or sub-faction specific. And I think the sub-faction is really the way to go. Mother Talzin would be a really cool looking commander. I think she's got so much going on. I would love to see her sculpt and how they would actually do her. Definitely would love to see Asajj Ventress as well. And it'd be kind of cool to see if you could get Asajj Ventress and Darth Maul and Savage Opress all on the table at the same time between operatives and commanders and stuff. I think that would be a really cool thing to see. And, honestly, I would love to be able to recreate some of the scenes from Dark Disciple as well, or even some of the classic episodes from the Clone Wars, like Ventress and the Nightsisters going up against Dooku and a bunch of droids. Like, that would be really cool. It'd be a really cool thing. So let me know if you agree, if you think this would be a cool thing to see, or do you think I kind of screwed up anything. Also, check out the RPG. There's a lot of Clone Wars stuff coming out, and a lot of this art, that they commission, sometimes they'll reuse it. So this might be, some type of Nightsister assassin that we'll see at some point. Maybe we'll see more of this. And it'd be cool if they use the Force, because that might be the cleanest way to do it. Or will they give them their own upgrade type? Like maybe they'll give them a magic our Night Sister magic, so they can give them specific upgrades and not have to worry about, oh, we can't make this Force upgrade now because then Mother Talzin will have it and it'll be too strong. Will they get their own upgrade type? Like a lot of cool little things that are really fun to think about. All right, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It definitely helps me out. And you can check out Crabbok.com, hop in my Discord. We can talk Legion over there or talk the RPG. I'm having a lot of fun with the RPG, though. It's really cool. I haven't really covered it very much, but as I delve more and deeper into it, it'll be something that I do talk about from time to time. All right, guys, I want to thank you, and I want to give a shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You guys are amazing. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.